The notion of spiritual capital, I think, relates to a people's conception of themselves as something other than just a material being, other than just the physical pieces that make them up. If you think of yourself as just that and nothing else, then there's not going to be a whole lot of ice that the notion of spiritual capital is going to cut with you. On the other hand, if you see yourself as being a representative of something or maybe taking part in something that's beyond the material world you see immediately before you, then this can begin to give you a sense of perhaps obligation or transcendence beyond exactly what you have in front. So spiritual capital is something that you can build up in the way you can build up capital in other areas that reflects itself in your life as a person who is engaging in all sorts of activities, but some of them will have a permanence beyond you. And just that very little, that simple transition in thought from what's immediately before me to taking part in something that might be beyond me completely transforms one's self-conception. So the role that I think thinking about spiritual capital can play in ethics or in economics, which are the two disciplines that I work in, is something like the following. There are various ways you might conceive of yourself and various ways you might think of looking for the things you want to do in life. If you think of yourself as just taking up biomass, I'm going to be here for 80 years, I'm going to take up some biomass, well, that's going to help you order your goals in life in a certain kind of way. On the other hand, if you see yourself as taking part in something that came before you, that will endure during your time here and will participate after you, will continue on after you, then all of a sudden the priorities change. And the notion of spiritual capital can play another role, which is helping form a set of background institutions that you don't have to question. That's really something that's interesting about the notion of capital. When you talk about human capital or when you talk about other kinds of capital, what it allows you to do is to aggregate things that, so you have a pool or a fund from which you can draw when you need it. Spiritual capital gives you a set of background assumptions about yourself. I'm a being that participates in something that might transcend both my current and my current time, my past and my future. And what that can do is it allows you a kind of freedom and indeed also a kind of courage then. Because I don't have to worry what's going to happen right now because this isn't the only thing that I have. I'm taking part in a long-term game here. And that allows a kind of freedom, and it also allows a kind of motivation that you can continue. It's also a deep responsibility